Setting up your business brand is one of the most important things that you will do for the future and growth of your organization. The brand of your business is its overall perception. And quite frankly, it's not based upon what you want. There are several rules that go along with properly branding your business. There's also several steps. And in today's episode of CPTV, I am going to walk you through the major steps that you need to follow in order to set up your business brand for success so you can attract, get, and retain the right customers, make an impact, and most importantly, make some money. Let's get to work. Hey love, Cheryl Perez back at you again, or CP, whichever you prefer. I am so excited about today for a number of different reasons. This is oftentimes the funnest part of when you're setting up your business that most people tend to go to like right away, but also because it's actually number 7 and the final video in the Set Up Your Business for New Entrepreneurs series. So I want to make sure that if you haven't had a chance to check out the last 6 videos, they will be right up here in the cards for you to take a look at. And I really do encourage you to start from video 1 because this series isn't just about the 7 different steps. I'm also a very strategic and calculating person. So the steps that we're providing you with are actually in order from step 1 now to step 7. And this is really us tackling some of the strategies and experiences that I've had in my career in building my businesses on how I've actually taken the necessary steps to brand my business and also what I've learned over the years. Because when I started my first business, I really had no idea and no clue about branding. I made decisions about my brand based off of various things that I'm sure some of you might have already done or might be thinking about doing. And so I want to make sure that you know the real things that you should be thinking about when it comes to branding your business and also what you really shouldn't be thinking about when it comes to branding your business. So let's dive right in. I am so excited to get started. So before we get into the actual steps, there's a couple of things I want to make sure that we cover when it comes to branding in general. And that is, what exactly is branding? Well, branding your business is more than just what you might automatically think contributes to branding. And we're going to talk about all of those things throughout today's episode. But really, branding is the overall perception of your business, what people feel and think and believe about your business just from seeing certain things. Do they recognize things about your business just from seeing certain things? And it's also really your personal brand is kind of tied along with it, because when you're an entrepreneur and you're the founder of an organization, your business brand and your personal brand kind of go hand in hand. So I want you to make sure that you're aware of that fact, because it's very difficult to kind of separate the two. You can't be one way in public as an individual and not expect that way or that brand that you're creating for yourself to kind of leak over into your business, and vice versa. You can't have a certain brand over in your business that you can't expect and automatically know is going to leak over into your personal life. And it's funny because I've actually done classes and trainings with organizations, with employers, with employees on developing their personal brand. And people's perception of their personal brand is oftentimes really different than what the public's perception is. And the reason why that is because sometimes people base their brand on themselves. And I want to be the first person to tell you right now that the brand that you project for your business and that you choose to project for your business isn't about you. I mean, it really isn't. What you think you're putting out there has nothing to do with what you're really putting out there. And how do you know what you're really putting out there? People will tell you. Your customers will tell you. People that you run into will tell you. Things that you do, it will tell you. And so, for instance, I didn't even really realize that I was developing kind of a personal brand on my personal Facebook page for a number of years. And a big part of it was because every day when I was really trying to keep myself motivated and overcome things, I tend to actually look at an app that gives me something positive, and I meditate to come up with my own positive thoughts for the day. And so what I did for years, every single day, was actually like post a positive quote. And I didn't even realize the impact that it was having or the brand that it was actually creating for me as an individual until maybe a year and a half to 2 years into it. I started getting feedback from my friends when they would comment. And then I faced a kind of a personal challenge. And so I stopped actually posting a positive, quote every morning. And people started telling me, like, I need my positive quotes from you. And when I would see them out in public, they would be like, you're so positive. You're such a great person. And it was like, how are they coming up with that? But it was because I had kind of created this personal brand without really knowing surrounding that fact. And so that's really an example that I wanted to make sure that I was clear to you guys with is it's not really about you. It's what you're putting out there and what other people perceive and how consistent you are with that brand impacts the brand that you're creating. Your brand also includes your voice and your tone and whatever image you want to project and whatever feeling you want people to get when they see your stuff, when they hear from you, or when they're watching something that you're doing, or when they see you out in public. So that voice and that tone is also critical to make sure that you're kind of communicating it through your brand. And also it really involves what you want to be known for. I have a client that really enjoys being known for being adversarial. They're like the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to, they're just the opposite of everything else. And they choose to be that way on purpose. That's the brand that he wants to portray. He wants to be that guy. And so no matter where we are, what we're doing, what he's doing, he is that guy. And that's the brand that he's kind of come to be known by. And so he chose to be polarizing in that way. And we all know people, I'm sure, right now you can think of somebody who chooses to be polarizing, and that brand is who they are, and that's what's working for them. So that's an example. Whatever you do consistently, and what you want to be known for is going to be a part of that brand as well. Also, who you want to attract as clients should be a part of that ultimate brand that you choose. And also your reputation is going to be a part of that actual brand itself. So I wanted to make sure that we covered, kind of the general idea of your branding. So now let's dive into the specific steps of what's involved with kind of setting up that brand and things that you want to consider. So step one in setting up your brand is that you have to determine who your target customer is. Your brand, as I mentioned, is a lot less about you and more about them. Whoever it is that you're targeting for your products or your services has to be the primary and major consideration when it comes to what you want your brand to be. You want to make sure that you're choosing all of those things that I just mentioned to you in order to attract that audience. After all, your customer is who's going to buy from you. That's how you're going to make money. That's how you're going to grow your business. And so you want to pick colors, themes, texts, fonts, all of those things that's going to attract that customer. So let's just say that your customer is kids. You want to focus on selling products and services that are going to be focused on kids who are like between the ages of 8 and 10, right? So you're going to want to choose font, for instance, that's going to attract kids. You're going to want to choose colors that's going to attract kids. And if your target market is their parents and they're in a certain income bracket, you want to make sure that your colors and your text and your font and your vibe and what you say and your mission and everything else is going to attract that customer. So that's why I tell you that step one is really about your customer. I've had a client that once before chose her actual business brand colors based off of what her favorite color was. Yeah, no, it's not about your favorite color, because if your favorite color isn't going to attract your audience, you'll be sitting there in love with the vibe that you're giving yourself. And that's not how you're going to build a business, right? That you're not going to buy from yourself. So make sure that your customer avatar, that's step one in the way of setting up your business. Know your customer avatar, get really specific, have an idea of exactly the stuff that they need and expect and want in order to make your decision about what your brand is going to be moving forward. So moving on to step two, determining your why. I've already gone over in this series. Actually, I think I touched on it in step number one in video number one, and I also touched on it in video number two. I'm going to link the primary video though, the Get Your Mind Right video right here in the cards and also in the description below so that you can access that. But since we've already been through that, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but once you figure out what your why is, which is really that impact that we've talked about, and it's going to guide your messaging, that messaging is also going to be a major determining factor in your brand. brand. So again, if you have chosen a target audience of children between the ages of 8 and 10, and you know that your particular why is to educate and empower them, then all of those things kind of combine together. The fact that they're children and the fact that you want to empower them are going to combine together in order for you to begin to develop what your brand looks like, that perception, what your key statements are. Even when you go out and do things in public, how you dress, what you post on social media, you kind of get where I'm going with that, right? So yes, that's step 2, infusing your why into overall what your brand is. So step 3 in the process for setting up your brand. Now that you know who your customer is and you've also determined what your why is, it is time for you to educate yourself. And I mean really educate yourself. Do your research on what your audience is attracted to, what's going to really entice them, what messaging is going to bring them in, what their pain points are, where their needs lie, and also take a look very in depth at your competitors and what's been working for them, what their brand image is, what they're projecting, and take all of that information, make sure that you know it in and out, and use all of that data in order to move forward with your brand strategy. You have to look at educating yourself and really getting to know what's going on before you can really move forward, because choosing the wrong brand can be very impactful. It will influence and affect your marketing efforts. It will influence and affect what you're able to sell and who you're able to sell it to. But most importantly, it can be pretty damn expensive to change it all in the middle. So you want to make sure that you are making the right decision. And step 3 is getting all the information that you need in order to move forward with an informed decision. Step 4, picking your tone and your voice. That is critical. And I really do mean your tone and your voice. It's very important. It matters. It will literally determine how and what you communicate, exactly how you do it. So, do you want to be vibrant? Do you want to be funny? Do you want to be serious? Do you want to be bubbly? Whatever it is that you determine you want to be, you have to know. And that is the tone and the voice that you have to use consistently across all things when it comes to picking your brand. Step number 5, this is kind of the fun one. And this is oftentimes the one that people come straight to without actually doing the stuff that I just talked about, those first 4 steps. And that is picking your logo and picking your tagline. This is where you're going to incorporate all of the visual pieces of that brand. Your logo, your tagline, your colors, your fonts that you're going to use, and what all of those things communicate. You know, there's a very big difference between, let's just go back to our original example. You're focusing on your audience, which is children between the ages of 8 and 10. And you also want to focus on inspiring them and educating them. So your logo may include some crayons, and your font may be Comic Sans because it's a very childlike font. You may use bright, vibrant primary colors in order to attract them. So your logo may include, red and yellow and blue and green, the primary colors that are typically used when you're associating with children. And your message might be to empower and educate. So you might want to make sure that your tagline includes that very phrase, to empower and educate the future of our children, or whatever it is. So that's what I mean when I say in step 5, picking your logo and your why statement and your colors and your taglines and your fonts and the sizes of the fonts is all a piece of this. But that's why it's step number 5, because if you didn't do the first 4 steps, you really can't get here, right? And now I want to talk about step number 6, which is what I call the 3 C's: being consistent, being clear, and being constant. And I mean consistent, clear, and constant throughout everything in every shape or form, whenever you communicate anything about your business, whenever you are representing your business in public, whenever you're at a public speaking engagement, whenever you're at a networking event, whenever you're meeting people, whenever you're handing out a business card, it should be in the signature of your email. It should be the colors and the fonts that are on your website. Anything visual, verbal, representative of your business is how and when you want to push that brand out. And so consistency is key. Being clear in your message is key, and doing it constantly. In both of my businesses, not one item can go out of this office without it actually being cleared for branding. That includes staff being able to take a logo and stick it on a piece of paper in an email and not necessarily have it approved, because, I want to make sure that the ratios of that logo look good, that it's not distorted, that it's not pixely, because that communicates something very clearly to the outside world and to the client. And I'm telling you, I have worked really, really hard to establish a particular brand for the organization, and one little lack of consistency, lack of being clear, or lack of being constant can undo and change all of that. So that's why I say that the 3 C's are critical, and you want to make sure that it works across all other forms of your marketing, your social media, your SEO and content marketing, your websites, your print materials, your emails, your community involvement, everything. Being consistent, being clear on what that brand is and that messaging and that voice and that tone, and constantly doing it is going to be critical. Now, before we move on, I want to remind you to subscribe, hit that button and that bell for me, please. It's going to give you the notifications of every single CPTV episode. I also would like for you to share this with a friend or a colleague. Pay it forward. Somebody else may actually need the help. And I have a question for you. Here it is. What's your brand that you've actually chosen? Put one statement in the comments below that summarizes your brand for me, because I want to hear it. I want to figure out with you how you came up with that. And I'm really, really interested in seeing what that brand is. Your statement, your colors, your font that you've chosen, all of those different things. I am excited to hear what you've got to say. So that's it. You guys have all the steps. Now, I need you to go out and actually do something with it. And again, if you've gotten some great information from me today, make sure you hit that like button. Leave me some comments. Leave me some love. Don't forget to check out all of the links that I talked about today, the additional cards. Check out the rest of the playlist. And with that being said, my love, have a great, great day. And I will see you next time on CPTV. Mwah.